Hello! Today we're going to talk about how to create a scatter plot from a set of data. We primarily use Microsoft Excel, but the procedure is very similar if you're using the Google equivalent. Once we have a scatter plot, we're going to learn how to add titles to that graph and then talk about where to begin troubleshooting if things don't turn out the way you expected. So we'll start over here in Microsoft Excel where I have a set of data. If I begin by highlighting the data, coming over to the Insert tab, you'll notice there are some options here where I can insert different types of graphs. I'm going to choose a scatter plot in this case as opposed to a line graph. A line graph we'll use on the horizontal axis it will use category labels as opposed to values, whereas in this case I have values on the x and y axis. I would like it to make mathematical decisions, and so I'm going to use a scatter plot, which treats the x and y axis values as numbers as opposed to treating the x-axis as letters or strings. So I'm going to come down here to where it says scatter. I'd like smooth lines for this case, and voila, a graph. Hey, that was simple. So now you'll notice I don't have any of my chart title or my axis labels. To get to those, I come up here to where it says layout. I click the layout tab, and I come over here to where it says labels. I would like a chart title. Center overlaid is fine. And for axis titles, I have the horizontal axis. There's only one option there. And then for the vertical axis, I like a rotated title. It's just something I enjoy. And then to edit these, I can come over and click on them and highlight them, and I can title of the chart. I can call them whatever I like. In this case, we'll call it lift and drag versus velocity. Why not? And on the y-axis, I can title this. Looks like I've got my force values here, just as I expected, force. And I look back and remember I was measuring force in pounds when I took this data. And my horizontal category axis title looks like that's velocity in miles per hour, so I'll edit that. Careful to do a single click on those boxes when you're editing the titles. And that's in velocity, and that's in miles per hour. And there we go, a graph all ready to be copied and pasted into Microsoft Word and then analyzed. Now, if you've reached this point and things haven't turned out the way you expected and it doesn't look like this, well, what do I do next? Well, okay, go over here. I have a similar set of data. Let's say I highlighted that data. Come over to Insert, press Scatter, same procedure. Ooh, that is not what I wanted. Okay, well, what do I do now? If you look at this data set and you have the graph highlighted and you look at the outlines here of what Microsoft Excel has tried to access for plotting, you'll notice it didn't even pick out all the data points I had selected. So it's misinterpreted something here. And the primary thing it's misinterpreted is the fact that there is text in the same cell as a number. Anytime you have text in the same cell as a number, Excel doesn't process that as a number. It processes it as what's called a string. It's any combination of letters and numbers or just letters. So if I want Excel to do math, I need to give it numbers. And so notice as I remove the letters from each cell, the value even changes position. And so you'll notice it same effect whether I had the space there after the value or not. Removing the letters from the cell allows Microsoft to recognize that, hey, this is a number and I should do math with it. And so if I make that one change, I pull the letters out of the cell and I come over to Insert, Scatter, same type of graph. Hey, there we go. We have the graph we wanted. Let's come back over here. Now, let's say you did that and it still isn't quite right. There's another way to create a graph. We can come over and we don't have to have anything inserted. I can just pull up a blank graph. And this brings up the most important menu to be aware of when you're graphing and trying to troubleshoot a graph. If you right-click, and come down to the Select Data menu, it brings up this box and allows you to manually decide what data do I want in there. So I'm going to come in and select a series. For one series, the graph is in the way. Hold on just a minute. Let me adjust my objects here so that I can get at the data. So we'll select the data, we'll add a legend series, we'll add a series for lift, and for the x values for lift, I'd like to use those velocity values. For the y values for lift, I'd like to use those force values. and hey, there you notice we've already got something that looks promising. And notice it already picked out my horizontal category axis labels as the x-axis labels for lift. And let's add another legend series. So I'll pick this red button to pick the series name for drag, and then the series x values for drag. I'll highlight these values from the velocity column, and then for the y values for drag, we'll highlight those drag values there. And notice, hey, we've got the graph we expected. Click OK, click OK. Now we can go ahead and add titles to that the way we did previously. And now if I want to go back, or say I have a graph and I want to check and make sure it's calling the data from the right cells, I can right click on the graph and I can come to select data, and then I can go through and I can edit each of these series to make sure that, okay, the x values are coming from column A, the y values are coming from column B, and then for the other series I can edit that, see the x values are in column A, and then the y values for drag are indeed in column C, and I can make sure that the data is coming into the graph correctly, and then that will give me more information as I try to interpret what may have gone wrong as I tried to make my graph. So hopefully at the moment you've reached a point where you have a successful graph and you're able to title it. If you have additional questions, feel free to contact me, and yeah, happy graphing.